Morning, what's everyone?
Morning, sir.
Okay. Victory, hope you are still here.
Good morning, sir. I'm here.
Welcome, sir. All right, so
Thank you, sir.
this section is for us to round up the pivot table analysis we started the other time. And some of us were not in that class, or some of us did not stay till the end. So I want to see the possibility of rounding up pivot table. At the same time, that brings us to the end of using Microsoft Excel for data analysis. So I will just quickly create a pivot report just to refresh our memory before I continue from where I stop. Because I know in that class, we have covered at least 50%. So we have covered at least 50%. So let me not assume that we have actually watched the video. So in the next 20 minutes, so I'll do as if I'm starting the topic again, just to bring us to the same page. And then I will accelerate from there. So like I said, we are still on pivot table. Analysis. Pivot table analysis. Pivot table analysis. So what is pivot table itself as far as a cell is concerned? For those of us that were in that class, can you still remember anything I said about pivot table?
Yes.
Excel is the most powerful tool
Okay.
in analysis in Excel because it seems to embrace or encompass all other tools. So there's no other tool in Excel that's greater than pivot table for analysis. That's what you said.
Okay, yeah, you are very correct. So I said pivot table is a powerful data analysis tool in spreadsheet, that is Excel. So not just only Excel where you can actually use pivot table. We have what we call Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is another version of Excel for those that do not have Excel on their system. They can actually do the same thing they are doing on Excel with Google Sheets. So there are other framework or application that incorporate this function. But there are three key things I specify that very day as regard to the reason why pivot table is widely and highly recommended for a data analyst using Microsoft Excel. Those three things I said with pivot table, it is easily for you to summarize data, which means calculate totals, average, count, and other aggregate values. And I also explain something. There is what we call business analytics. Business analytics, which sometimes most people don't understand its difference between data analytics. So business analytics is just like a segment under data analytics that's focused only on analyzing business data for business decision making. So there are some of us that area happen to be our strength. There are some persons that when they are done with this program, they will tell you that they prefer analyzing business data. The reason is that they are always within that terrain. They understand how businesses work. They understand how decisions are made in businesses. So I believe people like Mr. Jolly will have very strong interest in business analytics, because I know he has been into business, at least from the few days or few years that I know him. So people like that, we understand that aspect of analytics, because it means that they already have the CEO mindset. They already have the manager mindset. And that is one of the things that gives us cutting edge as data analysts. Because most time, people that are diving into this particular field called data analytics without any background experience on managing anything in life, they have not been opportune to be a manager, for them to know how manager thinks, how important decision-making is to managers, how important data influences decision of managers. But sometimes when you find yourself in that shoe, you see that you easily understand the thinking method. So when you are given data, such a person will easily understand what is expected from him or her, instead of waiting for the boss to tell him, you are to analyze this. So he has already known that, okay, these are the possible tasks or possible questions I may be asked to answer from the given data set. So I just want to summarize this skill thing and then I move on. The main reason why we use pivot table, number one, I said, because it can be used to summarize data. That is, it can perform calculations like summarization, like summing of values. We can also use this to perform counting of values or entry. And then, of course, we can use it to aggregate values, which means you are still adding, trying to analyze categorical data. For example, if you look at the data in front of us, this is a payroll data set. So if I am asked, what are the possible aggregates analysis I can perform here? I am going to look at the headers with what? More than one unique value. For example, grade. Under grade, I have manager. Under grade, I have officer. Under grade, I have trainee. So these are three different what? Unique value. So if I am asked to sum the basic salary against them, that is categorical analysis. And at the same time, it is also called comparison analysis, because at the end of the day, you are going to compare the summation of the values in basic salary to each of them. So this is what we mean by aggregate. So when it comes to where you are aggregating value against categorical data, then you need a pivot table to easily do that for you. Apart from that, if you look at that statement, it means that it's a powerhouse of are exploratory analysis functions. When we started this program, I mentioned different types of analysis and the questions they pose on us as data analysts. I started with descriptive analysis, and each of them have techniques and method in performing them. So when you are aggregating value using pivot table, you are actually performing descriptive analysis, and you are adopting a method called exploratory or data mining. That is, you are using this function to exploit this data. And there is a reason you are looking for something in the data. You are exploring the data for insights. This insight is what the stakeholder use in making decision. This insight is what influences the stakeholder in making effective or smart decisions. So you are looking for those key things that will help them to make decisions from their data that does not look, does not look anything to them. But for you, you are able to take the data because you are a data analyst. You are able to adopt all your techniques like the pivot table we want to use now to draw those insights. So another key reason why we use pivot table is because it analyzes data for us. It analyzes data. It breaks it down for us to the simplest form that even a layman will understand what you are doing. Another reason why we use pivot table because it visualizes data. I have explained the meaning of visualization. There are a lot of data and analytics learners out there that will tell you that the word visualization means graph only. So anytime they hear visualization, what comes to their mind is graph. No. Visualization to us, the word visual, it means to us a model which we are using to present this insight to the stakeholder. So visualization here means a format, a container that you are using to present your findings, which can only be two types. Is either you use a tabular visualization, like the whole of this data now is visualized with table. Then it's either you use a table or you use graph. So we now have graphical what? Visualization and tabular visualization. A table is a two-dimensional what? Visualization tool, while a graph is a pictorial representation of the values in that table so that we can easily identify trend, pattern, and outliers. So we are going to see all that because the pivot table has its own pivot charts for charting its table values, just for you to easily identify the trend, the pattern, and the correlation or the outliers. So I just want us to remember that there are three main reasons why we consult pivot table. And I also mentioned in that slide that pivot table is used to analyze large data sets. So quickly, let's look at the method, which I believe I explained, but I know it has been a while. We talk about the various methods that can be used to implement your pivot table. I told us in that class that we have the manually assigned header method. Just give me 1 second. So like I was saying, we have the manually assigned headers method to generate your pivot report. Because I told us in that class that you should always see pivot table as a reporter. a model that is used to create multiple reports in a single interface called dashboard. That is another main reason now why you should think of using pivot table when it comes to creating dynamic and interactive dashboard, good looking dashboard. Pivot table, as far as Excel is concerned, is the best tool to use. So I also said there is another method which I refer to as the recommended method. This recommended method suggests once you highlight any data, automatically by itself, it will scan through the entire data and suggest some analysis questions. Things the function must have thought that this could be what he wants to do. This could be what she wants to do. So let me present some insight to him and see whether one of them will align with his intention. And that is one of the most used method. In fact, as the name implies, recommended, which means that nobody will see something that is recommended and still want to go through building from the scratch. So what I'm going to do, because I have taught us the other method, I remember in that class, I have taught us the manual method where you have to manually assign your header to generate your report. So I will just go straight to the recommended method. So quickly, what are the steps? How do I implement my pivot table? The first thing you do before you even think about activating the function, look at the data you are given and be able to identify some questions. What exactly will the pivot table do for you? You need to capture it first. It's not just to go to the pivot table. Now, looking at this data is a data we are all familiar with. We have used this data several times. So, like this data, if I am asked, or let's just get like 3 questions. I can be asked to summarize all the values in basic salary per department. In other words, if I'm tracing marketing, I should add the value of it, all the values here that can be traced to marketing in this column. You want to what? Summarize them and tag them to what? To the list, marketing. And then the ones that relate to security, you look for them and also what? Summarize them and tag them to what? Security. That is what we are going to do. If you are to do that manually, we all know how long it's going to take us. Now, I have one question already. Now, the second question is that after I have presented the summary of this of basic salary value against the unique department, another question will be triggered. I told us that sometime in analysis, you will be asked a major question. Until you answer that major question, their eyes will not see this other question. So always prepare for it that each time you answer the major function, there will be another question that will arise. For example, after you have done your summary based on the department, I am very sure that the company may want to know the statistics of the number of employees probably generated what? The value you must have gotten. They want to know. If, for example, after my analysis, marketing generates like 2 million, security generates 3 million, credit generates 5 million. They want to know, okay, what factor, what influences credit to generate 5 million over, that is what, 1 million ahead of others. They want to know, is it by the numbers of employees that are working there or by the position that must have triggered the amount of salary they are earning? So when you now present a counting analysis, it will give them insight as a reason why maybe credit is doing better. Credit might have the highest salary, but it might not have the highest number of employees there. So quickly, I want to answer just these 2 questions. Now, for me to perform my pivot table analysis, my data formats must or should be, let me not use the word must, should be formatted as table. The reason is to enhance its updation, to update the record. Knowing fully well that today you are performing the analysis on this data, let's assume this is where it stopped. Knowing fully well that tomorrow they will impute another values in this data set or data frame. So what will happen to those new information that will be entered? Will they be captured in your report, or you have to come back as an analyst to start analyzing again? So to avoid that, I will format the entire data as table. And to format the data as table, all you need to do is to select the first cell where you want to start your selection from. I told us before that you hold down the control button and the shift button on your keyboard, then hit the right arrow button to highlight the entire data frame horizontally. So while you are still holding down the control and shift, hit the down arrow button, and that way highlight the entire data vertically. Now I have selected my entire data and I did not include this, but because I'm going to format this area with table, once I impute a value here, it will automatically take that format. That is the reason why I'm doing this. So that when they come tomorrow and they start imputing value, because there is a format that is already existing, then that data will automatically emulate that format. And in the process of emulating that format, then to be captured in your report. So the next thing I'm going to do, once I've highlighted my report, then I will now go to Home tab. From Home tab, I am coming to this function, the format as table. So once I click on it, then it brings out different options. So I can pick from any of these categories. So let me just pick this. And then when it brings out this, select my table has header. I've explained all this. So click here, and then automatically you have formatted your data with table preset or table pre-style. Now, I want to confirm if this sheet will update by tomorrow when they enter more record, because that is the reason why we are doing this. So let's assume that I have 57 here. You see what happened? As soon as I type it now, it takes the initial format, which means that any record that is coming in here automatically is associated with this. So that is the reason why you should always format. So I want to delete that row, or select the number representing it, right click on it and select delete to avoid generating a missing value later. So once you have formatted your data as table, the next thing is to implement the pivot table. And like I told us, I'm implementing the pivot table using the recommended option, where I have to go to insert, and then instead of me using, remember this was the option we used for the manual method, the one you have to manually on your own assign the header. So this is the one I'm using now, recommended option. So once you click on it, automatically it analyzes your data. Can you see these are insights? The function have automatically prompted you. So like I was explaining before, this is an assumption of pivot table that could it be that this is what you want to do? So there are some questions that have been drafted and answered by pivot table. That is what is happening right now. So you know the ones you have already drafted. Like I said, I wanted to analyze the count, the total number of employee per department. But what the pivot table suggestion is saying is, instead of analyzing employee per department, is analyzing employee per grade. So like I told you, you can actually manipulate this. It's allowed. If pivot table is not speaking directly your mind, you have the privilege of twisting it. changing it to suit your question. So I will just go ahead with this and just click OK. Then automatically it will create it in a new sheet. In a new sheet, which is the best practice. Now, so which means that you inherited this particular report. So if it doesn't match what you want, all you need from your pivot field list here, you drop it. Now, what it's doing here is it capture what? Serial number. I don't need serial number, so I take it off. I don't need it. But I still want to maintain. Now, I don't need grade, so I take it off. So what I need is department to replace what? The grade. So I'm not telling pivot table, thank you very much for giving me the format, but this is what I want. That is what I am doing right now. Now, I am summarizing this based on the basic salary. So I'll check it. As I'm clicking, when I was teaching us the manual method, I say you drag and put, you drag and put. Once you are using this format, you don't have to drag. As you are clicking, pivot table know where to assign the headers. It is now left for you to say, if you want a horizontal report, you now manually redirect it. That is if you feel that what the pivot table is giving you is not matching your intention. So now there is a section I want to explain, which is called filter. So this filter, as we know it from one of our class, as a filter is a database selection command. We use filter, as the name implies, to what? To separate, to display, to focus, to fetch certain record based on our specified condition. So, what kind of question I can be asked after I have generated my report that will involve filtering or filter? Now, look at what you have gotten here. What you did here is the summation of basic salary, the total of basic salary per what? Department. Now, I want you to know that this value that you have here in front of audit is made up of both the female and the male in that company. Now, supposing you are asked, we want to know the percentage of male only. We want the same analysis, but let it be the summary of only male record, male employee. Because what you have right now is the combination of male and female employee. Please, somebody should confirm my audio because I noticed there was a network notification. Are you hearing me, please? Somebody should confirm.
Yes, sir.
All right. So now, I want to answer that question. To answer that question, look at what I'm saying. I want this same model to give me the breakdown of only male basic salary summary against this department. Male, you ask yourself, that particular criteria that is mentioned, male, under which of this header was it captured? It's under sex. So, which means you drag that sex and put it inside the filter section. Now, it will create it here. So what I will now do, I will now click on this icon and touch only what? Male. And then click OK. Look at it. So what you have right now, this is the breakdown, the summary of the basic salary per department from only what? Male employees. That is what you have just analyzed now. If I am asked, normally you are supposed to take in your observation, your record, each time you perform analysis in a dashboard, just like the way we just filter now. You take your biro and your paper, write down the observation. When it audits, the summary of audit for only male is the value you have there, 1, 2, 3, that million. The value for male only for compliance, you draft it down. Now, you now switch. You are looking for something. You are looking for the trend. You now switch to female and check again. Audit. Remember audit when it was male. It was higher than the value we are seeing now. So at the end of the day, when you want to put your executive report, which you are going to present to them for them to, that will influence their decision, they will know which direction, because your value, your statistic, your analysis will be telling them that you have more basic salary when it was male than what female, which automatically tells me that there's every possibility that we have more male employee in this particular data set, because the values are already showing it. So the next time the HR want to employ, knows how to balance the gender employment. Now, if I want to select multiple at once, because right now we have just female. Now, let me take it off. Let me use another criteria to filter, so I take it off. Now, let's assume that you are also asked to filter based on grade. So right now, if I come here, I will see different value. Now, what we are saying is that on this report, we want to analyze the total basic salary per department, where grade is equals to what? Manager. If I click now, this is a breakdown for only what? Manager as a grade. Now, if I am asked to use multiple criteria to perform my filtering, how do I go about it? For example, sir, if I am asked to display the summary of the basic salary for both manager and officer only in that model, what do I do? That is when you click here, you activate this option that say what? Select multiple items. So once you have selected it, you can see that what? The appearance of this unique value have changed. So now I can check multiple and then implement by clicking what? Okay. So right now, this is the summary of basic salary for both manager and the other department I selected. Are we good? Before I proceed, please.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jolly, are you with us? Hope you are following, sir.
Yeah, but I just don't. I'm back. I'll catch up.
Okay. All right. All right. So I've just created one report. Now I want to create another report because it's a dashboard, like I told us, I am designing, and I want my dashboard to have a very good design. So when you are designing, you have to be formatting. So I would like to separate the whole of this, and then I'm bringing in another report here, and then I'm formatting this just to demarcate this report from the next one I am bringing. So the next report, I'm going back to the data set. I want to answer the question of counting. The question of counting. Just as we have outputted here, we want a report that will tell us how many employees make up these values. So to do that, I go back to the data set. Then I'm going to use the manual method now. So go to insert, select what? Pivot table. And then when it's asking, where do I want to place the report? I want the report to go to sheet 1, where I have my dashboard. So what I'm going to do is to click on existing sheets so that this box can be active for me, because I want to choose the location. I don't want it to project it in a new dashboard because I already have a dashboard I'm building. So I'll click here, and then I will switch back to that sheet. And then this is where I am bringing it. I'm bringing it here, leaving this. Okay, I've already left one column. So I'm bringing it here. Then I'll simply click OK. So it will create the report. here. Now, the next thing I want to do is to answer the question. The question is, I'm working with the same department because I'm asked to give the breakdown based on counting. So I'm working with the same department. So I will drag department. Remember, this is the manual method. Drag department and put it here. So I have all my unique department listed. Then I am counting the employee based on the department. So what I'm going to do, I can use the same basic salary to do my counting, put it in value. Now, but by default, the function is analyzing with some function, because I told us earlier on that pivot table offer us multiple aggregate functions, sum, count, average, and the rest of them. So by default, it's already programmed on sum. But the analysis I want to perform is not sum. The analysis I want to perform is counting. So all I need to do is to right-click on any of this value and select summarize value by, I change it from sum to count. So I've done my counting analysis. I told us in the last class that you can actually sort your pivot report. You can sort it in order to answer easily questions like, what is the trend? Which one is the highest? To answer that question, you can just right-click on any of the value within the report, then select sort. Then I would like to sort largest to small. So you can see that what, if I am asked after my analysis, which of the department have the highest number of employees, I can easily what, detect it. So I want to add more reports. So I would like to add filter here also in case I want to filter. So let's return all this so that we will have right values. So I want to add filter also. I can come here and say, okay, I would like maybe this particular report. I can be asked to filter or to display only or to count only from a particular state. Maybe they would like to know the breakdown of the employee in this department from only what data state. So for that, let me use state as my filter. So it will add it automatically. So you can see the way you are building your dashboard. Now, to have a good design, here, this space, I want to format it the same color. And then here, I'm leaving one space. So here, the same thing, format it. Your dashboard will look very attractive. So you can also sort this value, right-click and sort what? Largest, so that you can have your record properly arranged. All right, so I will just create one more, I will answer one more question, and then I move to the main business of which is the aspect that is remaining. I cannot actually implement the key topic for today without having a dashboard. So that is why I am creating a dashboard first. Now, I want to go back to my data and answer another question. The question I'm answering this time around is, I am asked, the company wants to know the summary of the net salary per state or per status. They want to know the net salary per status. So what I'm going to do here, the same thing, I'm using the manual method so that I can be specific with the location. So click here, click inside here, then go back to the sheet and specify the location. So the location, I want it to come in here, and then I'll click OK. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to answer the question. The question is summary of
Hello,
net.
sir.
Okay, sir.
I don't know where you are clicking to get to drop this value feed. Though you're a bit fast, I know you are trying to move on to this class, but no problem. But
Okay,
I just want to get to this.
I will take it again. Let me just conclude this. I will show you again. Coming. So now, like I was saying, answering the question of the summary of net salary per status. So I'll take my status here. add your status here, and then locate net salary, then put it in value. So I've answered that question. So let me see. Okay, I will also add filter because I can be asked to filter because the current report I am giving now is the total net salary per each of these unique value under status. So there is every possibility of them asking me to give the breakdown or to view only male or female. So let me add that as my filter so that my report will have the same structure. So I will also format here. Now, the next thing, let me just do it again to answer your question, sir. You were asking how I was choosing the cell or picking the cell where I want to add my pivot report. Now, what I did is this. I wanted to answer another question. So let me just answer another question. So I have to go back to my data set. And then I went to insert and click on pivot table. Then instead of me saying new worksheet, which means that it will create the report outside the current dashboard sheet. But I want the report to be added to the ones I have created. That's the reason why I choose existing worksheet, so that this box can be active for me to click in. So you make sure that your cursor is blinking here. Then you now go to that dashboard where you want the reports to be outputted. Then when you get to the dashboard, you choose where you want the report to be. If it's going to come after this, then, and I'm leaving extra column just to demarcate the report, then it should come here. So just click here. Once you click on the cell, it means you are saying that the report will be generated here. And then once you see the value of that cell reading here, you click OK. Are you good to go, sir? Hello, sir.
Your voice was breaking. When you came to the dashboard, you were saying something, but I wasn't hearing you.
Okay, so this is a
Well,
dashboard. I said once you get to the dashboard, you select
yes,
where you want the report to be placed, which is just like I selected this value, this cell now, which
yes.
brought out this configuration. So this configuration means this is the location. It's just the location where the report will be projected. Is that clear now?
So you are click okay.
Yes. So yes, you have to click. If you click here now, it means that the report will come here. If you click here, it means the report will come here. So anywhere you click is what determines where the report will be created. But I'm looking at my design. All my reports start from the third row. And my filter is taking the first row and I'm leaving extra row just to form a design. Are you with me now?
Okay, I'm with you.
So I'll click OK. Once I click OK, you can see it now. This is what you are asking. So you can see the report structure, but the report is empty. So except I add another question. Let's say I'm asked to summarize what? Same basic salary per the gross income. Sorry, basic salary per gender. Now I'm adding a filter in case I am asked to filter this per state. So I'll put a filter here so that will have the same structure of my report. I believe it should be clear now, sir. So let me close up this and then also what? Format this. Try to maintain a format and make your report what? Big. All right, so everything I have done so far is part of what we have done before, but I needed a dashboard before I can actually talk about my main targets for this class. So just to be sure that we are good to go, do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? It's revision actually what we did is part of what we have done before. Can I proceed?
Yeah, you can proceed, sir. It's clear.
Let's proceed.
All right. Now, we want to talk about pivot charting or pivot chart. Pivot chart. Pivot chart. So what is pivot chart? Pivot chart is a graphical representation of pivot table values. A graphical representation of pivot table values. Now, I just spoke about visualization method. I mentioned table and I mentioned graph. If I ask you now, if not that we sorted this, which of the departments have the highest, you will have been comparing this value until you see 42. But if this same report is presented with graph, a second is even too much for you to know which of the department, because the bars, the graph bar, we help you to identify what the trend. So the whole essence of creating charts is to identify, to make it easier for us to identify the pattern, because we will now know how it's moving, the shape of the progression and the shape of the regression, and then the trend. Then we can easily use the shape to measure the differences due to the slope is going to form. So that is why it is very necessary when you are building dashboard using pivot table. It shouldn't be only table. It should be mixture of both table and graphs. So that graph is what we are calling pivot chart. So how do I communicate this same report? So you don't go to the chart direct. You must have created your pivot table report before you complement them with the chart. So now that I have these three reports now, is it 3 or 4? Let me check. 4 of them. I want to use chart. Now you have to form a design. You have to be creative. User interface, mindset. You see the whole of this place now. I will use a chart to cover it so that it will beautify this place. You can see a graph will be here that will balance this design. So everything you are doing, both the graph and the table, should be forming a design. Should be forming a design. So I want to project a graph of this. A graph of this here. Or let me use this one. I'm looking at the number of cells there, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have to fit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me try here first. So the first thing is for you to click on that particular pivot report that you want to create its graph. So once you have selected it, you don't need to click on all the value. Just make sure that it's selected. The reason why we must select is so that this analyze can be active. So this analyze is where we can actually see what? The chart. So which means that if you are off from your report, you will not see analyze. And if you cannot see analyze, you will not see pivot chart. Let's try it. Let me click outside. You can't see analyze here. So until I select one of my report, analyze comes up, and then I can see what? Pivot chart. So if I click here now, it will bring out different what? Charting tools. So which of them do you want to use? Now, you need to be creative as well in using them. You don't use them anyhow. You need to consider certain priority, as in factors. Which one is going to help me? Remember, the motive, the target is the graph that will easily help you to identify the trend. So you ask yourself, if I'm using this, how can this help me to easily know the highest? You can see that here now, I'm having issue with these two sectors because they have almost the same value. But if I am using this, it will be clearly defined. They look almost the same, but here I can easily find the differences. So it's either I choose the one horizontal or vertical, but I will ask myself, if I put a vertical bar here and a horizontal bar, which one will complement this design better? So it's up to you. So let me try this, the horizontal one. And then I click OK. Now, remember that we have a plan. The plan is we want... You cannot hear me. Can you hear me now? Mr. Bitra, are you hearing me? Let me know if it's from his own end. Your audio is even disturbing somehow.
It's breaking.
Okay, my line, right? Okay, let me see if I can change network. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay, let me switch network so that...
Can't hear again.
No. Okay, can you hear me? My network. Is it better now? Is it better? Please, can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Yes,
can
sir.
hear.
Okay, so please kindly mute. Okay, good. Please mute your audio. Good. All right. So we have a target. The target is that we want to form a design here. So I will see how I can reduce this here. So you can see that this is too small. Okay, so we can leave it like this. We can bring another design here to complement here. Now, I want us to look at something. If you check very well, you will notice that this is a graph actually, but there will still be issue of differentiating them because they are all using the same color, and that is not forming a good design. So what do? I am going to switch. I'll go to design and switch here. So what I switch now, the pivot report cannot overlap. Okay, so I'm having some issue of overlapping. So, okay, so let me see. Okay, so let me change the type and see if is that particular graph. Let me change it to this and see. Let me change it. Okay, so I believe is, let me see. Let me just continue with this. I'm going to create another one. So I'll go to format and go to shape just to format the background color. I'm looking at the color that will bring out the information. Then I'll go to my home and then choose white text color so that you can see the value. So let's assume I'm using this. I'm going to create another graph. I want to see what is causing that. So you form a design. So I want to create a graph of this, and probably maybe I'll put it here. So I'll click here. The same thing, go to analyze, then select pivot chart. Let me choose column. Then have a vertical bar. So I click. I think it's from my sheet here. So reduce it. Place it somewhere here. But I think it's still small. Let's open it up so that we can see the bars. We find some element to occupy here later. All these are supposed to be active. I believe it's my sheet. It might be active in your own. Now, we can still make this graph more detailed. You can select it, go to add chart element to modify it. So the first thing I want to do, let's say I want to add data label. So data label will help you to add the value to the bars. You want to display the values alongside with the bars. So let me click here and also detail this. Go back to add chart element. Data label. So let's see, since we have the string listed, so I will just put the number on the bars. Numbers on the bars. So let me also change the color. So your color must complement each other. Okay, so I'll put my slicer here in order to fill up the space. So this is how you can create a pivot chart, or how you can create pivot chart, but I can still do some detailing. You can click on this and write the title. What is this graph? What are the value? This is a department against basic salary. So you can just label it graph of department slash basic salary. You can just basic salary. So the same thing here, you can label it So the next thing I want to show us is what we call pivot slicer. Pivot slicer. After this, we have just one more command under pivot table to know. So the what we call pivot slicer. Pivot slicer. So pivot slicer is an advanced filtering tool. We use it to filter the pivot report. So if I go back to my report now, just like we're using this filter to achieve the other time, we can use a more advanced version of this, which is called the pivot slicer. So slicer, as the name implies, helps us to slice through all the reports and give us different value. For example, now I can say, okay, across all this report, I want to see only female, not only here. I want to see only value for what? Female here. I want to see only value for female here. I want to see only value for female here. Across the entire, even if you have 1 million report on this sheet. So pivot slicer will enable you to slice across them. And this is actually planned to help you to answer different questions instead of you recreating another model because you want to answer question like, I want to see only female analysis. So you can just bring in a slicer to help you to what? To fetch this record across all of them or on a particular report. So how do we go about this? So how do we go about this? You select the reports. You must you must insert the pivot report, pivot slicer on a report. So that means you must have created a report. Like I said earlier on, there are some things you cannot do until you have reports. You cannot do the charting, you cannot do the slicer, and then you cannot do the timeline analysis until you have an existing report. So I'll click on this at the moment and then go to that same analyze. Then you can see that what my slicer is not active. So there is issue here. There is issue, and this issue is from my sheets. Probably the method. Let's remove all the filter and see what could be the cause. I can always add them. Please let me debug this a little. If it doesn't, then I have to quickly create because my slicers are not active. So something is wrong. I believe that is the reason why that particular command was saying cannot be overlapped. Let me find out. So sometimes it might be because of the method. Remember that we are blending two methods together instead of us to be copying and pasting. I was actually using the manual method and the recommended method. Okay, so let me see if it's active now. They are not still active. Yeah. All right. So let me quickly show us how it works here. So I will leave that report. So what you do next time to avoid this, when you are building your dashboard, stick to one method. If you are using the recommended, use it all through. If you are using this, then use it all through. So what I will have done, I will have copied this one and use it to generate it, just like the way we did it, to avoid this overlapping stuff. So, but just for us to understand what we are doing, so I will just hit this quickly. It won't take time. So let me see now if my
I wanted to ask a question.
okay, sir. Go ahead.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Is this recommended and manual methods? I didn't get it when you were doing that. I don't know the difference of how to use the recommended and manual method.
Sorry, you said you did not get when I was doing.
Yes, the recommended and manual. There was a time you say, okay, I want to use manual now. I didn't even know the difference between the recommended and the manual method. If you can just explain it, and I can just.
Okay. It's something that you can actually get where you go through the video, but because of the challenge we are getting now, it will avail you the opportunity to know it. Just hold on, I'm coming. So I want to leave this data. I want to get another data. I think I have. Okay, so this is another report. So let me remove them because that is what we are trying to achieve now. So I will go back to a new sheet now and show you what. So I'm going to use this. Let's see whether if my timeline, is good, they are active. Okay. So like we were asking, sir, what we are asking whether how you did not notice how or the difference between the manual one and the recommended option. Now, the difference is this, sir. It's left for you. It's not compulsory that both of them can actually give you the same thing. Like the issue we are having now, because we are blending both of them. That's why I'm advising us that next time you stick to one, or you use the first report of the first one to duplicate and get order to avoid this overlapping. Now, what you do is that you select your entire data set. After you have selected your data set, you go to insert. If you click here, is the manual one. If you click here, it's recommended. Is it clear now? Sir, are you with me?
Yes, I'm zooming my screen to see what I'm saying. So if I click here, it's manual. If I click here, I didn't know.
This is, look at it. If you can see where my pointer is. If you are going through this, you are using manual method. If you select this from insert, not home. Have you seen it?
Yes.
So good. So once you click here, it means that you want to build the report manually by yourself. But if you choose this option, it will create some report for you. So you choose from this, then later on you adjust it to fit what you want. Is that clear now?
Yes, it's clear.
Good. So now I want to quickly use this report to show us the slicer I was talking about. Now you can see this is a generated report, pivot report. And I want to create a slicer that will help me to filter across all these reports. Of course, this particular report generated this graph. This one generated this bar chart. So if I want a slicer, I have to select one of them, then go to Analyze, then you click on Insert Slicer. Once you click on Insert Slicer, it will output all the headers in the data set that generated this report. So from here, you have to determine, you have to specify which of these is the filter
criteria. You want to filter based on, so here we analyze city. Here we analyze city, the total of, there is a header called total in this data set. So just like the way we have the basic salary. So we sum up all the value there based on the number of cities. So it means that I can be asked to know the male percentage of this value. So which means that I want to filter, I want to slice with gender or maybe the date. So you can choose which of this header matches your filtering or slicing criteria, or maybe per product. So we want to select one product and see how much that product generated from these three cities. So let's say I'm working with product. You click here. If you want to insert two slicers at the same time, you are permitted. But let me just use only one and click OK. So I have my slicer. So this is my slicer. Don't forget what I told you about slicer. It's an advanced filtering command which is used to fetch record across multiple models in a dashboard. So for example, now, if I click on electronic accessories, I want to check what will happen to this report. You see that what the analysis you are providing now is the breakdown of the total, the breakdown of the total, the breakdown of the total per what? This department only. That is what you are doing right now. Are you with me? Now, if I want to remove it, you click on this icon here, this S here, click here. That will remove, that will undo your work. Each time you analyze.
Sorry, when you click the total, I didn't see the effect on the.
Now, I want you to put your eyes here, where the pointer is now. Can you see it now?
Yes, yes.
Now, I want to click on electronic accessory and check the value there. Has it changed?
Yes,
Has it changed?
it has changed.
Good. Now, if I keep selecting, it's outputting based on the one. So right now, and it's affecting the graph that came out from it. Now, I was showing us something in case you filter, and you want to undo it so that you can filter probably with another criteria. Just click on this arrow, this X here. Click on it. It means that what it will clear the previous action and allow you to perform a new one. Now, what about if I want to use two? Let's assume the question is that on this report, display only record for electronic accessory and fashion only. So you are going to hold down the control button and click on those two. So you can see that at the moment, if you hold down the control button, the analysis you are providing now is that you are providing analysis of what? Food and beverages, health and beauty, home and lifestyle, and war sport, excluding these two. That is what it means. So what I will have done, let me bring back everything. Since I'm asked to present only breakdown for these two products, then once I hold down my control button, I will turn off the order. So this is how you are answering these two product analysis only. Is that clear? Please, I need a quick response from that before I proceed.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So I want to know, please, what you just did now, how to turn off order this thing.
Now look at this here. Let me clear everything. Now the question I'm asked is that on this report, they want to see only the analysis for these two products. These two products. It means that I'm to turn off these other ones. And to turn these other ones off, you hold down the control button and click on those ones you want to turn off. So right now I have only report from what? Two products, electronic accessories and fashion accessory. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Good. So if, okay, Mr. Jolly, you want to say something?
When you were trying to slice and then you used electronic accessories only.
Yes.
Selected that.
By
Yes.
clicking only, if you click on it without pressing down any button, just click on it. That means what? For only electronic accessory that you are analyzing now.
Okay, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Okay, good.
You activate the other one myself.
Yes, yes. All right. Now, but you will notice that when I'm analyzing with the slicer, it's only affecting this and this. Why? Because this was created from this, but it's not affecting this. It's not affecting this. But our plan is that the slicer should be slicing through all the reports. That is the beauty. So which means that will take us to slicer connection. How do you connect this slicer to all the reports you must have generated? You click on that particular slicer. Then you go to option. And then you will see this command called what? Report connection. So once you click on the report connection, it will output, that's supposed to list all the what? The reports you have here. But right now it's listing one. When it happens like this, delete it and take it again. Something must have gone wrong. So let me click on that again and go to analyze, then select this. And then let's say I am slicing with that same product, then I click. So immediately, let me go back to my option and select this. So you can see that still is not connecting. So what I'm going to do is to click on this report. Click on this report. You can have all this technical issue based on your data structure. This might not happen when you are working with some data. So now, but you must find a way of navigating. Now, click on this report, do that same thing you did, then come to analyze, insert it, then pick the product. I just want to know why the other was not connecting. If I click here now, it's still not what? Connecting. Still not connecting. Oh God, let me see what I will do here. Because what we are supposed to get is, we're supposed to see the list of all the, now let me do something. Let me create another report. Let me create another report. Maybe they were created separately or with the other method. So let me copy this one and use it to form another report. I believe this will be the cause. So on this report, I'm analyzing different things. Here, I'm analyzing products. So in other words, let me turn off city. So now let me click here now and try to do the connection again. Go to analyze, insert your slicer. I'm slicing with the product line and click. Then do your connection. So it's good. So you can see it now. So the challenge, that is why the best option is when you create the first report, duplicate that report to create order so that all of them will be captured separately. So what was happening before is that I created them separately without using the first one to generate the order. That is why it was not listing them because they were not duplicated. So now I have to click here to check all the reports. So if you have followed that method, you will have all the reports listed here. So all you need to do is to check them and click OK. Now, if I do that analysis again now, I want to check these two reports that are connected. It will not work on this previous one because that is not linking. So if I click here now, you can see that what is connecting. Any analysis I perform with the slicer affect all the ones that are linked. Just like we did the other time, if I hold down the control button, I say, okay, maybe I want just these two product analysis. So I can just click here, click here, click here, click here. So right now what I have is just for this, which is also affecting all. So if I clear it, see all of them. So that is how to connect your slicer. Just select it, go to report connect, you see all the reports in that dashboard listed. Just check them and then click OK. Now, like I said, you can actually use more than one slicer. So I can click here now and create another slicer that will be slicing with the different condition. So I'll come here this time around. This one should be slicing based on gross income that will be above certain value. So let's say we are asked to fetch out only gross income above a particular number. So if I click here now, you see that what? It displays this. Now, the same thing, I will have to connect this same slicer to other reports. If you have 10 slicer, you have to connect them separately. Not because you connected this one. These ones, the rest are connected automatically. So for each slicer, learn to what? Connect it. So let me connect again. Click on this one I'm connecting. Click here. Then check all the reports that are available. So the next time I slice here now, you can see that what is affecting all. It's affecting all. So that is how to work with slicer. So the last function after this, we are through with Excel and pivot table. But before that, let me show us a secret that could be very beneficial to you. You see, in accounting, sometimes or most time, it is not advised that you just show your boss that this is total amount you spend without giving the breakdown. So you might be asked that, okay, your analysis is showing that gross income from Mandalay is this. Now, we want to have an idea of the number of transactions. We want their list, the number of transactions in that data set that generated this. The company want to see it. So what you will do is just to double click on that value. It will create another report, and that report will be what? The breakdown, the list of reports, the list of entries that generated this. So if I double click now, look at it. So that has created another sheet. So you will now what? Come here and name this sheet according to what you are outputting. So these are the summary, the report, the function sum up, the transaction, the function sum up that generated that. So if I come here now, so let's say this one is a Mandalay. Mandalay. Don't know if I'm correct spelling. So if I come here now, I want to see the breakdown of Yagon. I will just double click on it. So it has also given me what? The breakdown of what? Yagon. They are from branch A. You can see it's most of the Yagons. These are for only Yagon. So you can be asked to print it out separately and submit it as a report. So you now name it maybe Yagon. You now name it maybe Yagon. So when you are asked here that, okay, this summary now, what is, give us the breakdown, you have already what? Rejected that. You just, bring them here. So that is for that. Now, the last command, which should be a must-know feature as part of the pivot table, is what we call timeline, pivot timeline analysis, pivot timeline analysis. So pivot timeline analysis is used for analyzing data history. It's for grouping your data into what? Different what? History. For example, let me use like Zenith Bank. From the day they were established, they have been collecting data of customer, both credits and what? Debits. Now they can ask you to analyze their credits entry. In other words, their credits are record for a particular year. For a particular year. Let's say they have data that are spanned across 10 years. They have for 2020, 21, 22. And all these transactions were stored in their central server. That is what they are mixed up. And they call you as an analyst that we want you to give us the total for a particular year. That is history analysis. So how do you perform that? That is when you need the timeline analysis. So don't forget, I said it is for analyzing data what? History. It's for grouping your analysis according to what? A time frame. Now, but there is a condition that must be observed. or there's a condition that will permit you using this. The condition is that your data, the data you are working with, must have a header called date or time. So like this data now, I want to check whether I have date. Good, I have what? Date. I have date. And thank God that I have different years. I don't know whether they are all in 2019, but you have a better view of this particular function where you have data that have cut across different years. So this data is qualified because I have dates, header, and I have time. So if you don't have this, you cannot use the timeline analysis. So since my data is qualified for this, so let's quickly look at how to implement it. So to implement it, what I will simply do is to go to, you must click on one of the report as well. Let me try. You can see that as soon as you click outside, you can no longer find it. So before you apply it, one of the report must be selected. Then after you have done that, then go to the same analyze and then click on what? Timeline. Once you click, you can see that it brought out only 2 headers, unlike the slicer that listed all the headers, because all the headers are qualified. That's what it means. But here, these are the only qualified header. So I want to perform my timeline analysis with dates. So I'll click on that date and click OK. So once you click on it, then it brings out the timeline. So it works like your slicer. Now, the reason why you are seeing only 2019, because our data sets only have what? History of 2019. Of 2019. So even you have like other years, as soon as you apply it, you'll be seeing all the years captured. Working with a different data. So it will capture all the years. Now you can switch it from year to what? Quarter or month or days. So if I want to work with year, once you click on year, you can see that what you only have what? 1 year segment. Supposing we have 2019, 2020, you see all of them group listed here. So you can now select. So if I click here now, it means that I am analyzing only for that particular year. So the same thing if it is connected. So you need to also connect it the way you connected your slicer to all the reports. So to connect it, the same process. Just click here, go to option, then select what? Connect. Then you list all the reports. So next time I click here, it will analyze across all of them. So let me bring it to where we can be seeing it, so that when I click, you can see the response of the data. So this is for all from this year. Now I want to switch to quarter. So quarter will now break it into what? 4 quarter. That is the 4th quarter in this year. So if I click on first quarter, so all these reports were generated in the first quarter. If I click on the second quarter, you see that no entry was, no sales was made in the second quarter. If I select the third quarter, no sales also. If I select the fourth quarter, no sales. So in other words, the whole of this transaction happened in the first quarter of that 2019. So like I was saying, even you have data that the history cut across all this, you will have seen how interesting it is. So if you want to really enjoy it, take your time to look for data that have different history of years, months, and days. So that is how the timeline analysis work. Remember, they are both in a family of filtering. They are for selecting record. So that brings us to the end of pivot table and Excel. If you have question, you ask. If you don't have question, then I am going to give us a project which everybody will present probably next week.
I have questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have three questions. Number one is that in the course of trying to do